The tragedy of Tiger Woods is that the world only allowed him to be invincible. We remember the frozen gaze on the fairway, those putts that tore through the silence under crushing pressure, and the most perfect winning machine that any sport has ever witnessed. He was built to be perfect, by a veteran father who loved him in the only way he knew, by the sport that worshipped him as the only god, and by the whole world that could not forgive him at the exact moment he proved he was not. What we often do not see is the fragility hidden behind that invincibility, a crack carried from childhood that no golf course, no title, no round of applause could ever fully repair. He played with cold ruthlessness because the golf course was the only place where everything was under control. But outside the ropes holding back the spectators, that control shattered. And outside the ropes is where real life happens. In April 2019, at Augusta, Tiger Woods hugged his son Charlie on the 18th green, tears streaming down the face of a 43-year-old man who had undergone 4 back surgeries, 11 years without touching a major title, a scandal that tore apart his marriage, and a night when he was found slumped behind the wheel with 5 types of drugs in his system. The whole world had written obituaries for his career. He proved them all wrong. The green jacket draped over his shoulders that afternoon was not just a symbol of victory. It was proof that a human being could fall completely and still stand up. It was the greatest comeback not only in golf but in the entire history of sports. 7 years later, in the same state of Florida, another photo appeared. Mugshot at Martin County Jail, bloodshot eyes, extremely dilated pupils, wrinkled blue polo shirt, the swollen face of a 50-year-old man who had just flipped his car on a residential road with 2 painkiller pills in his pocket. The same person. How could the man who created the greatest moment of redemption in sports history repeatedly find himself in the wreckage of another crash? Not a crash on the golf course, but on the road, in broad daylight, with opioid painkillers and eyes that could no longer clearly see the lane. Crash, comeback crash, 2009. 2017, 2021, 2026. Each time he returned to the pinnacle, the world was both happy and holding its breath because everyone knew the cycle would repeat, only not knowing when. But before looking at the wreckage, before judging, we need to go back to where it all began. A garage in Cypress, California, a Green Beret veteran father with unhealed war wounds, and a 2-year-old child holding a golf club before knowing how to hold a pencil. Before we look to the other side of that cold gaze to find the man who has survived it all, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like for Tiger Woods. Long before the Masters, before the major titles, before the night Augusta shook, there was only a child not yet 2 years old sitting on a high chair watching his father swing, then perfectly imitating every movement as if the instinct had already been coded in his blood. Earl Woods was a former Green Beret officer, U.S. Army Special Forces, who had survived 2 combat tours in Vietnam during a time when a black soldier had to fight on 2 fronts at once, one against the enemy in front and one against racism right in his own ranks. Earl had crawled through mud under gunfire, witnessed comrades fall, and had his life saved by a Vietnamese officer, Lieutenant Colonel Nguyen Phong, whom Earl called by the nickname Tiger. When his son was born on December 30, 1975 in Cypress, California, Earl gave the child the birth name Eldrick Taunt Woods, but called him by the name of the man who had saved his life on the battlefield. Right from the name, the child carried the legacy of war, of unfulfilled duty, and of the gratitude that the father could never fully repay. Earl saw something extraordinary in his son before the world even knew it existed. He did not just see talent, he saw a mission. The golf club in Tiger's hand was not a toy. It was an order, a blueprint, the way Earl told the universe that his son would become what life had not allowed him to become. And Earl said it out loud in front of the world's cameras. Tiger would have a greater impact than Nelson Mandela, greater than Gandhi, greater than anyone who had ever lived. He placed the weight of all humanity on the child's shoulders before he could read, and no one stopped him because no one thought a loving father could be wrong. The method Earl used to train Tiger was not in any child-rearing book. It was combat training. He deliberately threw objects on the ground while Tiger was in his backswing. He screamed while the child was preparing to putt. He insulted, provoked, created every kind of disturbance imaginable, exactly like how Green Berets train soldiers to withstand pressure in hostile environments, and that method worked. From those chaotic but controlled training sessions, something began to form in the child's eyes, a gaze that froze all emotions, the ability to completely isolate the outside world and exist only in the moment between club and ball. The world later called it the tiger stare, the gaze that made opponents shrink, made crowds hold their breath, made every putt under crushing pressure as cold as a calculation. But that gaze had a price that Earl did not anticipate. It also froze the ability to process emotions off the golf course. The child was taught to control everything on the fairway, but no one taught him to control himself when there was no golf club in his hand. Beside Earl was Cultida, Tiger's mother, a Thai woman with Chinese and Dutch blood, strict according to Eastern discipline, unyielding. Between a father who trained his son like training a soldier and a mother who taught her son with iron discipline, the child was loved deeply but never allowed to be weak. Tiger Woods did not develop naturally, he was built. Every detail, every reflex, every layer of psychological armor was deliberately assembled. And every machine that is built has design limits that the builder never anticipates. The world saw the product very early. At 2 years old, Tiger swung in front of national cameras on the Mike Douglas show. At 3, he shot 48 on 9 holes. At 5, his round face appeared on the cover of Golf Digest. Tiger's childhood was not a childhood. It was a preview for a career plan before the child had the right to choose. 6 Junior World Championships, the youngest U.S. Amateur champion in history at age 18. 2 years at Stanford, enough to get into the school his father wanted. Not long enough for college life to derail the path. Then professional at age 20. Every step was exactly according to Earl's plan, precise as a technical drawing. But there was one variable no drawing accounted for. This multiracial child, who called himself Cablinasian, a word he made up to contain all the white, black, Native American, and Asian blood in him, was stepping into a sport of the white upper class. Country clubs that once refused black people through the gates now had to watch a colored teenager dominate their playground. Tiger not only had to be good, he had to be twice as perfect as anyone, because every mistake would be magnified by both sides. Those who wanted him to fail because of his skin color, and those who placed on his shoulders the burden of representing the entire colored community in history. When Tiger Woods entered the PGA Tour in 1996, he did not just bring golf clubs. He brought his father's mission, the expectations of a race, the cold gaze forged in the Cypress garage, and a childhood that was never truly a childhood. The machine was ready, the world was not. But there was another darkness that Earl carried with him, not the darkness of the battlefield, but the darkness of private life. Earl had a history of infidelity in his first marriage. Tiger had 2 half-brothers and 1 half-sister from the same father, living proof of the double life that the father he worshipped had lived before he was born. No one is judging Earl here. War and circumstances had shaped him in their own way. But the truth does not need judgment to exist. The child who grew up in that house had seen, felt, absorbed a model of life that he was not old enough to understand, but old enough to absorb. A life divided into 2 halves, one in front of the world and one in the shadows. The seed was sown in the most fertile soil possible, the soul of a child who unconditionally admired his father, and no one in the family knew what it would bloom into 20 years later. In August 1996, Tiger Woods turned professional at age 20, and the machine Earl, built in the garage, officially turned on in front of the whole world. Nike signed him immediately, not because he had proven anything on the PGA Tour, but because they saw what Earl had seen 18 years earlier. The first advertisement did not sell shoes or golf clubs. It sold a manifesto. There are still golf courses in the United States where I am not allowed to play because of my skin color. Right from his first professional swing, Tiger was not just a golfer, he was a manifesto walking on 2 legs. And that manifesto roared in April 1997 at Augusta, his first Masters. Tiger did not win, he destroyed. A 12-stroke margin, tournament record. Total score 18, tournament record. Youngest in history at age 21. Those numbers did not describe a victory, but described absolute dominance to the point that opponents were no longer playing against Tiger. They were playing for second place. But numbers were not what made the world hold its breath. That moment happened when Tiger stepped off the 18th green, and there, waiting in the Georgia afternoon sun, was Earl. Father and son hugged. Earl cried on the shoulder of his 21-year-old son who had just conquered the mountain his father had pointed to for 2 decades. The child programmed in the Cypress garage had completed the first phase of the mission, and the architect finally saw his design become reality before his eyes. Remember this moment, the hug between father and son on the 18th green at Augusta, because it would repeat 22 years later, same location, same gesture, but with completely reversed roles. After the 1997 Masters, the golf world was never the same again. Television ratings skyrocketed, prize money began to balloon, and on public driving ranges across America, for the first time in history, children of color picked up golf clubs and saw someone like themselves on screen. Tiger did not just win a tournament, he changed the demographic face of an entire sport. But the 1997 Masters was only the prelude. From 1999 to 2001, Tiger entered a period of dominance never seen before, and perhaps never to be repeated in golf history. He won the 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by a 15-stroke margin, the largest in the history of any major, a number so absurd that it was no longer a competition but a solo performance on stage, while the rest of the world sat and watched. Then the 2000 British Open, then the 2000 PGA Championship, then the 2001 Masters. 4 major titles in a row in the hands of the same person at the same time, the Tiger Slam. No one had done it before. No one has repeated it since. The numbers continued to pile up as undeniable proof that the machine Earl built was operating exactly according to design. 683 weeks at world number 1, absolute record. 82 PGA Tour wins, tying Sam Snead's record established over many decades. 15 major titles, only behind Jack Nicklaus with 18, and many believed Tiger would surpass that number before he turned 35. But beneath the layer of glory, there was a crack that the camera never touched. Tiger Woods had no close friends in the locker room. He rarely greeted opponents, rarely engaged in small talk, rarely let anyone step inside the wall Earl had built around him since childhood. Opponents feared, but were not close. Crowds worshipped, but did not understand. Perfection isolated him from the human world with a transparent glass layer. Everyone saw Tiger, but no one could touch the person inside. The machine was not designed to make friends. It was designed to win. And it won, in absolute loneliness that no one realized until it was too late. The moment that most clearly expressed that paradox occurred in June 2008, at Torrey Pines in the U.S. Open, which history would later record as one of the most extraordinary displays of willpower in sports ever witnessed. Tiger entered the tournament with a torn anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee and 2 stress fractures in his tibia. The doctor advised rest. Tiger refused. 91 holes of golf in agony, 72 holes of official competition, 18 holes of Monday playoff, then 1 hole of sudden death. Every step on the fairway was a conscious decision to endure pain. His face grimaced after every swing, his body contorted every time gravity bore down on his left knee, but his eyes, that tiger stare forged in the garage by Earl's screams, did not waver for a second. The birdie putt on the 18th hole on Sunday to force a tie and drag the tournament into a playoff ranks among the greatest putts in sports history. Tiger roared, fist pumped high, his face twisted between the boundary of pain and excitement. His body was saying stop. His will said not yet. He won the playoff against Rocco Mediate the next day, and then 8 days later lay on the operating table for ACL reconstruction surgery and missed 8 months of competition. This was the moment Tiger's body first appeared in the story as a separate character, no longer a silent ally but beginning to become an enemy. Tiger won the 2008 U.S. Open by destroying his own knee, and that paradox would repeat for the next 18 years. Every victory was a new crack in his body. Every comeback a negotiation with biological limits that his will refused to acknowledge. The machine had no off switch. That was both the greatest and the most tragic thing about Tiger Woods. While Tiger dominated the golf course with cold perfection, his private life outside the ropes began to crack along lines no one could see. He married Ellen Nordegren in 2004, the beautiful Swedish model. Daughter Sam was born in 2007, son Charlie in 2009. The surface was perfect to the point of being an advertisement. Sports superstar, beautiful wife, adorable kids, multi-million-dollar mansion on Jupiter Island, Florida. But Tiger was living two lives, exactly as his father had lived before him. The seeds Earl planted in the soil of the child's soul who admired his father unconditionally had begun to sprout. Outside the golf course, where there were no clear rules, no scorecard, no fairway to follow, Tiger began to lose direction. Then the compass disappeared. On May 3, 2006, Earl Woods passed away from prostate cancer. The only person Tiger truly obeyed, truly feared, truly trusted absolutely, was gone. The architect left his creation, and the machine continued to run, continued to win on the golf course. But no one was controlling the human part inside it anymore. And when the compass disappeared, the machine began to veer off course. Not on the fairway. On the fairway, Tiger was still nearly unbeatable, but outside the ropes, where real life was waiting with rules that no one in the garage in Cyprus had ever taught him. On Thanksgiving week in 2009, Tiger Woods was the highest-paid athlete on the planet. His public image was perfect to the point of being unreal. Model husband, devoted father, flawless superstar with $100 million endorsement deals from Nike, Accenture, AT&T, Gatorade, Gillette. There was no crack on the surface, no one saw any signs. Then the night of November 27 arrived. At 2:30 a.m., Tiger drove his Cadillac Escalade out of the driveway of his Orlando mansion, crashed into a fence, slammed into a tree, and hit a neighbor's fire hydrant. The rear windshield shattered. And two questions immediately hung over every newspaper in America. Why driving at 2:30 a.m.? And how did the rear windshield break? The picture was pieced together from multiple sources that Tiger never confirmed publicly. Ellen discovered text messages of infidelity on her husband's phone. A fierce argument. Ellen grabbed a golf club, the very club Earl had used to build his son's career, and smashed the rear windshield. Tiger drove away in a panic and lost control before leaving the neighborhood. Tiger issued a statement on his personal website, vague, smelling of lawyers. "This is a private matter." The statement did not put out the fire, but poured gasoline on it, because the same day Us Weekly magazine published a story about Jaime Grubbs, a cocktail waitress in Los Angeles, who claimed to have had a relationship with Tiger for 31 months, starting a week after the 2007 Masters, 2 months before Ellen gave birth to their first daughter, Sam. 300 text messages as evidence. A voicemail Tiger sent to Grubbs was leaked, his voice urgent, asking her to delete his name from her voicemail. Then Rachel Uchitel, a New York event planner. Then Kalika Moquin, a Las Vegas nightclub manager. Then Jocelyn James. Then more. Then more. The final number the media reported was 17 or more. Each day a new name, each day another piece of the perfect facade shattered that could never be pieced back together. What needs to be said straight is this was not a mistake. A mistake is one thoughtless night, one moment of weakness. This was a pattern of behavior spanning many years. A double life built systematically, maintained parallel to the perfect public image, concealed by the very control Earl had drilled into Tiger from childhood. Exactly as Earl had lived, there was no external enemy to blame. No one tricked Tiger. No one forced Tiger. The collapse came entirely from within, from the very person the machine had hidden for so many years. Later, standing before the cameras in the most famous press conference of his life, Tiger admitted in words that could not be avoided. "I was unfaithful. I had many relationships outside of marriage. I cheated. The consequences came fast and brutal. Accenture cut its contract. AT&T cut its contract. Gatorade cut its contract. Gillette cut its contract. In a few weeks, hundreds of millions of dollars in endorsement income vanished. Nike, and only Nike, stayed. Tiger entered a 45-day rehab facility. Sources said it was for sex addiction treatment, though he never confirmed it. In February 2010, he appeared before the cameras in a press conference at PGA Tour headquarters, reading a statement in a monotone voice, eyes down, apologizing to his wife, family, sponsors, fans. It sounded more like a statement written by lawyers than a genuine confession, and the whole world watched without knowing whether to believe or doubt. The divorce was finalized on August 23, 2010. In the divorce filing, Ellen wrote that the marriage had broken down irretrievably, without citing infidelity, without assigning blame, without turning the legal record into a weapon in front of their 2 young children. That small detail says more about Ellen than any interview she has ever given. She was the most mature person in the entire tragedy. The settlement was estimated at $110 million. Joint custody. Tiger was not allowed to introduce new girlfriends into his children's lives unless married. Ellen was never to speak publicly about the scandal. Both agreed tacitly, not out of forgiveness, but because Sam was only 2 years old and Charlie was not yet 1. And there are things parents protect their children by swallowing rather than speaking out. From a distance, Tiger's 2009 collapse looked like a sex scandal among hundreds of celebrity scandals. But up close, there was a much more painful paradox lying quietly underneath. Earl cheated in his first marriage. Tiger's 2 half-brothers and 1 half-sister were living proof. No one needed to recount it. Earl taught Tiger to control everything on the golf course, every putt, every breath, every expression on his face. But Earl did not teach Tiger to control himself outside the golf course, for a cruel reason in its simplicity. Earl himself could not do it. The teacher could not teach what he did not possess. Tiger lost Earl in 2006. 3 years later, the double life collapsed. Was Earl's life the final control switch keeping the machine on the tracks? Was it that when the architect left, the human part inside the machine lost its only reins? No one has the right to answer with certainty, and this script does not either. Only the facts can be placed side by side. Earl cheated, Tiger cheated. Earl lived 2 lives, Tiger lived 2 lives. Earl taught his son to control everything except himself, and Tiger controlled everything except himself. Then let the silence between those facts speak for all analysis. Tiger Woods emerged from the ruins of 2010 as a different man. Marriage lost, image lost, hundreds of millions of dollars lost, public adoration lost. But he still had one thing no scandal, no divorce decree, no headline could seize, a body that was still functioning and a golf club in his hand. The only question, the question the entire sports world held its breath for, was whether the golf course, the only refuge Earl built for him from the garage days, could still save the person behind the machine. If Tiger Woods' body were a separate person, it would be the most loyal ally and also the most cruel betrayer in his life. It carried him to every peak, endured every blow he inflicted on it, then slowly turned away. Not out of hatred, but because biological limits could not be negotiated with will. The story began earlier than people think. In 1994, when Tiger was a Stanford freshman and had not played a single professional event, he had to go under the knife to remove 2 benign tumors and scar tissue in his left knee. Before his career even started, his body had sent the first warning signal, and that signal was ignored. In 2002, again the left knee, fluid drained around the anterior cruciate ligament, cyst removed. Tiger returned and won his first event right after surgery. The machine refused to stop. In 2007, he tore his left knee ACL while running on the golf course after the British Open, but Tiger did not stop, competed through the rest of the season, and won 5 of his last 6 events, including the PGA Championship, a torn ligament inside his knee, and he still won almost everything he touched. In 2008, 2 stress fractures in his tibia on top of a torn ACL. Doctors advised 6 weeks of rest. Tiger refused and won the U.S. Open over 91 painful holes, then 8 days later lay on the operating table for ACL reconstruction, using a graft from his right thigh. Then his back began to speak. In 2014, first back surgery, microdiscectomy for a pinched nerve. In 2015, 3 back surgeries in 2 months, the second, the third, then another one, as if his spine refused to accept any solution the scalpel offered. In 2017, spinal fusion surgery, the 4th time doctors opened up his back. In 2019, 5th left knee surgery. In 2020, 5th back microdiscectomy to remove a disc fragment pinching the nerve, causing pain while playing with his son Charlie at the PNC Championship. In 2021, open compound fracture of the right tibia in both the upper and lower parts, along with severe ankle damage after a rollover car accident in California. Doctors inserted a metal rod through the tibia, screws and pins into the leg and ankle, nearly amputated. In 2023, right ankle surgery to address the aftermath of the fracture from 2 years earlier. In 2024, 6th back surgery. In 2025, left Achilles tendon ruptured during training, then 6 months later, 7th back surgery. Lumbar disc replacement, more than 12 major surgeries. Knee, back, leg, ankle, Achilles tendon. Almost no part from the waist down had not been touched by the scalpel. If you map the scars on Tiger Woods' body, it would look more like a battlefield map than an athlete's body. Each scar telling the story of a battle he refused to retreat from. and each refusal to retreat left a price that the next battle had to pay. The most cruel paradox is that the very discipline and will that created Tiger Woods was also what destroyed his body. Earl did not just forge Tiger into a golfer, he forged Tiger into a warrior. And Tiger lived exact like that. There was a period when he trained with Navy SEALs, the U.S. Navy Special Forces, running rugged terrain, lifting heavy weights, pushing his body to physical limits as if the golf course was a battlefield and every tournament a combat mission. He competed through injuries doctors said to rest from, trained when his body begged for rest, and refused to acknowledge that flesh and bone had their own laws that will could not override. The 2008 U.S. Open was the perfect symbol of that formula. He won by destroying his own knee, the greatest victory and the greatest injury happening simultaneously in the same body. This was not a coincidence, this was the formula. Tiger Woods won by self-immolation. Earl taught him never to stop. The body begged to stop. The will said no. Who wins? The will wins in the short term. Every time Tiger gritted through injury to claim one more title. But the body wins in the long term, always, because biology doesn't know how to lose, it only knows how to accumulate. And there is one consequence of more than 12 surgeries that no one says clearly enough. Each surgery is another prescription for opioid painkillers. More than 12 surgeries means more than 12 doors open to dependency. There is nothing romantic here, no poetic metaphor, just cold medical reality. Chronic pain after multiple operations leads to prescribed opioids. Prescribed opioids lead to increased tolerance. Increased tolerance leads to higher doses. Higher doses lead to dependency. This is the pattern that has happened to millions of patients across America in the national opioid crisis. And Tiger Woods is not immune just because he has 15 major titles and $1 billion in his account. Painkillers will reappear in this story, repeating like the rhythm of a curse. In 2017, police found Tiger passed out behind the wheel with 5 types of drugs in his system, including Vicodin, Dilaudid, Xanax, Ambien, and THC. In 2021, an unlabeled empty pill bottle in the car that flipped in California. In 2026, 2 hydrocodone pills in his left pants pocket when arrested after the rollover at Jupiter Island. The body hurts, so it needs medication. Medication causes loss of control. Loss of control leads to accidents. Accidents lead to surgery. Surgery leads to more medication. The cycle spins and each turn tightens more than the last. Tiger Woods' body at age 40 is a desolate battlefield. Metal rods in the tibia, artificial discs in the spine, a once-torn Achilles tendon, a knee reconstructed 5 times. But in that wreckage, something unbelievable is about to happen. The machine Earl built, the machine the world had written obituaries for, the machine that Tiger himself probably doubted could still run, is about to create the greatest comeback not only in golf but in the entire history of sports. Count everything stacked against Tiger Woods before April 2019. 11 years without a major title. The last one was the 2008 U.S. Open, when he destroyed his knee to win. 4 back surgeries, including a 2017 spinal fusion that doctors described as the last resort before accepting lifelong chronic pain. The cheating scandal that tore apart his marriage, a $110 million divorce, 45 days in rehab, and a public image burned to the point that no sponsor except Nike dared stand by him. The 2017 DUI, the mugshot with glassy eyes, not knowing where he was, 5 types of drugs in his blood, found passed out behind the wheel at 3 a.m. on a Florida street. World ranking plummeting outside the top 1,000, a number no one thought could be attached to the name Tiger Woods. Age 43, in golf, this is not twilight but night. When the 2019 Masters began, bookmakers set Tiger's odds to win at 14-1. Not because they disrespected him, but because every piece of reasonable evidence on earth pointed to the same conclusion. Tiger Woods was done. But Tiger believed the opposite. After the 2017 spinal fusion, for the first time in years, he could swing without pain. The body, the ruthless betrayer for a decade, finally gave him one more chance. Not a wide-open chance, not a comfortable chance, but a narrow crack just enough for a person with Tiger Woods' will to squeeze through. And he squeezed through. The first 2 rounds at Augusta, Tiger entered quietly like a ghost of himself. Not the #1 contender, not the center of attention. He was in stalking position, the place where 20 years earlier opponents had learned to fear the most. Because Tiger Woods is most dangerous, not when leading, but when lying in wait. And the eyes returned. The tiger stare, the one the world thought had been extinguished forever under the fog of painkillers, and the mugshot, flared up again on the Augusta fairway, cold and focused as if the 11 years of hell had never happened. In the third round, Tiger climbed the leaderboard. The crowd began to sense the impossible happening among the old pine trees. Whispers spread through the stands like electric waves. Tiger is coming back. Fourth round, Sunday, Tiger leading in the final holes. Augusta shook literally. The screams of "Tiger! Tiger!" echoed across the fairways, rolled over the hills, bounced back from the waters of Amen Corner. This was no longer a golf tournament. This was an arena witnessing the resurrection of a man it had thought buried. Birdie on the 16th hole, Augusta's traditional par 3. Tiger raised his clenched fist high, his face contorted in a roar, the trademark gestures that billions had seen hundreds of times. But this time it meant something completely different. 20 years earlier, the raised fist meant "I win." Now it meant "I am still here." Tiger finished the 18th with a bogey. Not perfect, not clean, not the fairy tale script, but enough. Won by one stroke. 15th major, 5th green jacket. And then the moment this entire script revolves around happened. Tiger walked off the green, and there, waiting in the crowd, was Charlie. 10 years old, face still bearing childish features, eyes wide open. Tiger hugged his son. Charlie hugged his father tightly, face buried in his chest, small arms wrapped around the body full of surgical scars. This was exactly the image of Tiger hugging Earl on the 18th green at Augusta in 1997, 22 years earlier. Same place, same gesture, same tears. The circle closed. But this circle was different in one fundamental way. In 1997, it was the son completing the mission the father had assigned. The machine running according to design, the architect smiling. In 2019, it was the father proving to his son that collapse is not the end, that a person can shatter, can self-destruct everything he built, can become the joke on the front page of every newspaper, and still stand up. Sam, 11 years old, was there too, beside her younger brother, the whole family on the 18th green. Ellen was not present, and her absence was also an inseparable part of the story. Silent proof of the price paid and never repayable. In the press conference afterward, Tiger choked up, eyes red, voice trembling. This was not the tiger stare, the frozen gaze forged in the garage. This was the human behind the eyes, the human Earl never allowed to appear in public, finally stepping into the light. The previous 14 majors proved Tiger Woods was a genius. The 15th major proved Tiger Woods was human, a human who could fall, could err, could be crushed by himself and by the world, and still find a way to stand up on legs full of surgical scars. In May 2019, Tiger received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the fourth golfer in history to receive this honor. In 2022, he was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame, and daughter Sam stood at the microphone to introduce her father. She mentioned the panicked phone call when hearing about her father's 2021 accident. The moment she realized the invincible legend the world worshipped was first her father, a flesh and blood human who could be lost at any time. But this is the Tiger Woods story, and in this story, every peak has an abyss waiting right behind it. The cycle did not stop at Augusta. Less than 2 years after the 5th green jacket, the cycle returned. On February 23, 2021, Tiger Woods drove his Genesis SUV at nearly double the speed limit on a winding hill road in the suburbs of Los Angeles. The car lost control, rolled multiple times, flew off the road, and came to rest in wreckage amid the bushes. When rescuers cut the car door to pull him out, Tiger's right leg had been crushed. Open compound fracture of the tibia in both the upper and lower parts. Severe injury to the right ankle. Emergency surgery lasting many hours. Doctors inserted a metal rod through the entire tibia, screwed screws and pins into the leg and ankle to stabilize what could be saved. On the operating table, a serious question was raised. Amputate or try to save? They tried to save. In the car, police found an unlabeled empty pill bottle. When asked, Tiger he thought he was in Florida. In reality, he was in California, more than 4,000 kilometers from home. He was not criminally prosecuted. No one explained why he was driving nearly double the speed limit on a residential hill road in the morning. And no one explained the empty pill bottle. Those questions were left in silence. the silence Tiger had learned to use since Earl trained him to freeze emotions under all pressure. Many months in a wheelchair, then crutches, then learning to walk again like a child taking first steps. Most sports and medical experts agreed his career was over. Tiger's body now carried metal inside the right tibia, alongside the artificial disc in his back, alongside the left knee that had its ligaments reconstructed. He was no longer playing golf with clubs. He was playing golf with medical hardware through his bones. But this is Tiger Woods, the man who won the U.S. Open with a torn ACL and 2 cracked tibias. The machine has no stop button, and though that stop button is a deadly flaw in Earl's design, it is also the only thing that still makes Tiger Tiger. At the 2022 Masters, 14 months after the accident, Tiger returned to compete. He made the cut, and the whole world erupted not because of the result but because of his presence. He finished 13 over par, pain evident with every step, limping across the Augusta hills that 10 years earlier he had run across like the wind. But he was there. He was still there. In 2023, Tiger withdrew from the Masters midway due to injury, then underwent right ankle surgery to address lingering effects from the bone break 2 years earlier. In 2024, he made the cut for the 24th consecutive time at the Masters, a historic record, but finished at the bottom of the leaderboard, 16 over par, the worst of his major career. Then missed the cut in 3 consecutive events. In September 2024, his 6th back surgery. In 2025, the body sent 2 more signals. Left Achilles tendon rupture in March during training, then 7th back surgery in October. Missed the entire year of competition, and amid that storm of injuries, another loss came. Mother Coltita passed away in February 2025. Tiger withdrew from the Genesis Invitational, the tournament he hosted. The strict Thai woman who had kept the family standing through every storm, through scandals, through divorce, through accidents, through the mugshot, was gone. After Earl, after the marriage, after the body, now the mother. Each pillar in Tiger's life collapsed, one by one, and he still stood, but on what was increasingly hard to say. Then in March 2026, it seemed like a new beginning again. Tiger returned to compete at TGL, the indoor golf league he co-founded with Rory McIlroy. On March 24, he stepped onto the course. Vanessa Trump, his girlfriend, ex-wife of Donald Trump Jr., hugged and kissed him before teeing off. Vanessa's daughter Kai clapped from the spectators' seats with her mother. Everything looked good. Everything looked like another comeback. Everything looked like this time would be different. 3 days later, on March 27, 2026, around 2 p.m., Tiger drove his Land Rover at high speed on a 2-lane residential road near his home in Jupiter Island, Florida, trying to pass a truck pulling a pressure washer that was turning into a driveway. Got caught on the trailer. The car rolled over. When police arrived at the scene, Tiger had already crawled out through the passenger window, eyes bloodshot, pupils extremely dilated, sweating profusely while sitting in the car with the air conditioning running. Police searched and found 2 hydrocodone pills in his left pants pocket. Breath test, 3 times 0, no alcohol. But when asked for a urine test, Tiger refused. Handcuffed and taken to Martin County Jail, the same county where he lived, where he trained, where 3 days earlier his girlfriend had hugged and kissed him before teeing off. The mugshot spread globally within hours, wrinkled green polo shirt, red eyes, swollen face. The image repeating exactly the 2017 mugshot. Same state, same charge, same glassy-eyed look. But this time he was 50 years old instead of 41, and the world's forgiveness had grown much thinner than 9 years earlier. Tiger issued a statement on April 1. He would step away from golf for an indefinite period, focus on health, enter a rehab facility. He flew to Switzerland, entered a treatment center to address the issue of dependency on prescribed painkillers. Pleaded not guilty in court. Florida prosecutors demanded medical records, subpoenas for prescription records. The case is still ongoing as these lines are being written. Pause for a moment here and look at the pattern. 2009, car late night, loss of control, life exploding. 2017, car late night, 5 types of pills, dozing off behind the wheel. 2021, car, high-speed empty pill bottle thinking he was in another state. 2026, car, high speed, 2 pills in his pocket, bloodshot eyes, the same pattern. Car drugs, loss of control, wreckage, repeating. And with each repetition, Tiger Woods' body gets weaker, The scars multiply, he gets older, and the gap between this time will be different, and it happened again gets shorter. But amid that repeating wreckage, there is one thing Tiger Woods has done differently. Not on the golf course, not in front of the cameras, but in the way he is a father. The machine Earl built has broken in so many places. Back broken, knees broken, legs broken, marriage broken, image broken. But there is one part that Tiger rebuilt from scratch, not according to anyone's blueprint, not according to anyone's orders, his relationship with his children. And there the final cycle was broken. Earl loved Tiger in the only way he knew, the way of a soldier. Love through discipline, connection through mission, closeness through pressure. It is not that Earl did not love his son. He loved him with everything war and life had taught him about love, and that was both the greatest gift and the deepest wound he left behind. Tiger became great because of Earl, because of the garage, because of the screaming to train focus, because of the eyes that froze emotions, because of the mission engraved into his bones before the child even knew how to read. But Tiger also became a person who did not know how to live outside the golf course. Also because of Earl. The machine was designed to win, not designed to feel, to connect, to show vulnerability in front of others. And Earl also passed on to Tiger one more thing he did not intend to pass on. A double life, infidelity, blurred boundaries between the public persona and the person in the shadows. The seed he sowed with his own example bloomed into exactly what it was programmed to bloom. So when Tiger had children, when Sam was born in 2007 and Charlie was born in 2009, the biggest question was not whether he would still win majors. The biggest question was whether he would repeat Earl's pattern, whether the machine would build smaller machines, whether the cycle, programming, pressure, double life, collapse would continue into the next generation. The answer is no. And this is the most important detail in the entire Tiger Woods story. More important than 15 major titles, more important than the Tiger Slam, more important than the 2019 Masters. Charlie follows golf. The boy has real talent, a beautiful swing, a competitive instinct inherited from his father. But Tiger does not do with Charlie what Earl did with him. No screaming while the kid swings. No throwing objects to train focus. No declaring in front of the cameras that his son will be greater than anyone who ever lived. No turning the golf club in the child's hand into an order or a mission. Charlie plays golf because Charlie wants to play golf, not because he was programmed. And when Charlie makes it clear that he wants to create his own identity, not to be measured by the giant shadow of the Woods name, Tiger respects it. No objection, no disappointment, no attempt to bend the child's will to his own. Charlie commits to playing college golf at Florida State University, not Stanford where his father once studied, not the school Earl chose for Tiger. It is Charlie's choice, and Tiger leaves it alone. The PNC Championship, the annual father-son tournament, becomes the most beautiful symbol of this relationship. Tiger and Charlie compete together for many consecutive years, not to prove anything to the world, but simply because that is how the two of them share time together. At PNC 2024, Charlie is the playing partner, while Sam is the caddy for her father. 3 people on the golf course, a family not perfect, not intact, but still together in the way they define for themselves. Sam does not follow golf. She chooses Stanford, the same school her father once attended and then dropped out of. But Sam's path is Sam's path. When she stood in front of the microphone to introduce her father at the 2022 World Golf Hall of Fame induction ceremony, she did not talk about 15 majors or 82 PGA Tour wins. She mentioned the panicked phone call when she heard about her father's accident in 2021. The moment she realized the invincible legend the whole world worshipped was first and foremost her dad, a human being of flesh and blood who could disappear at any moment without warning. That was the moment Tiger Woods was no longer a machine, no longer a symbol, no longer a manifesto. He was just a father. And the co-parenting relationship with Ellen, even after a divorce because of the most horrific scandal in sports history, shows a maturity that came late but still came. Ellen never publicly badmouthed Tiger. Tiger respects Ellen as the mother of his children. Both choose silence about the past and cooperation for the present of Sam and Charlie. This is not love. This is something harder than love. The emotional discipline of 2 adults putting their children above their wounded egos. Earl programmed Tiger to win everything, And Tiger won everything from 15 majors, 82 PGA Tour wins, 683 weeks at #1, billionaire, Hall of Fame, Presidential Medal of Freedom. He won it all except the battle with himself. But Tiger did one thing Earl couldn't do. He let his child be free. He didn't impose unbearable expectations on his child's shoulders. He didn't turn his son into a vehicle for his unfulfilled ambitions. He didn't build another machine. Charlie plays golf because he loves golf, not because he was programmed to love golf. And the difference between those two things is the difference between freedom and burden. This is Tiger Woods' quietest victory. No green jacket, no golden trophy, no television cameras, no crowd chanting his name. But perhaps, this is the only victory that truly matters. At age 50, after all the breakdowns, Tiger also seeks connection in his own way. Vanessa Trump, former wife of Donald Trump Jr., entered his life from a simple acquaintance. Vanessa's daughter Kai and Tiger's son Charlie attend the same school and compete in golf together. The two adults who had been through breakdowns met in the spectator stands watching their children play, and friendship turned into romance. Tiger publicly announced the relationship in March 2025. Love is in the air and life is better with you by my side. Vanessa was by his side at his 50th birthday at the TGL Finals and right before the 2026 DUI incident. Both are private, both put their children at the center, both dislike the prying eyes. The machine Earl built was not designed to need anyone, but the human inside the machine always needed. And after all, after every scar and every mugshot, Tiger still seeks what every human seeks, someone to stand by his side when the stadium lights go out. In July 2026, Tiger Woods is 50 years old, just out of a rehab facility in Switzerland. The DUI case is ongoing. Florida prosecutors demanding medical records, subpoenas for prescription records, pleading not guilty in court. His playing future is completely uncertain. No one knows if Tiger Woods will ever swing a professional shot again, including himself. But also in July 2026, Tiger Woods is still the chairman of the PGA Tour's Future Competition Committee, having just chaired a board meeting at TPC River Highlands approving major changes to the competition structure for 2028. He is still the co-founder of TMRW Sports and TGL, with Rory McIlroy, the tech-infused golf league he created not to compete, but to redefine how the world watches golf. He is still the owner of the Sunday Red brand, the fashion line he built after leaving Nike, after 27 years of partnership. He is still a billionaire with an estimated net worth of $1.3 billion USD. His business empire, including TGR Design Golf Course Design, TGR Live Event Organization, and the Woods Jupiter Restaurant. His body carries 7 back surgery scars, 5 knee surgery scars, metal rods through his right tibia, a ruptured left Achilles tendon, and an artificial disc in his spine. Every step at age 50 is a silent negotiation with pain, and the pain never yields, only agrees to a temporary postponement. His son Charlie is playing college golf at Florida State. His daughter Sam is studying at Stanford. Both live their own lives but remain connected to their father in the way this family defines itself. Not perfect, not intact in the traditional sense, but real. Tiger Woods at age 50 is not the ending. It is an ellipsis. But wherever that ellipsis leads, there are things already etched in the history books that no lawsuit, no mugshot, no headline can erase. 82 PGA Tour wins, a record tied with Sam Snead, who needed a 4-decade career to set that number. 15 major titles, second only to Jack Nicklaus. 683 weeks at world #1, an absolute record that the second-place holder can't even come close to. The Tiger Slam, holding all 4 majors at once, something no one had done before and no one has repeated since. Career Grand Slam 3 times, only Tiger and Jack Nicklaus. Those numbers are carved in stone. They belong to history in a way that history does not give back. But the legacy greater than the numbers lies in what Tiger did with the sport itself. Before Tiger Woods, golf was a sport for wealthy middle-aged white men at exclusive country clubs. Places where black people were once not even allowed through the gates, let alone swing on the fairways. After Tiger, children of color across America and around the world picked up golf clubs, and for the first time saw someone who looked like them on the screen. PGA Tour prize money multiplied many times over in the Tiger era. Television ratings skyrocketed whenever he played and dropped noticeably whenever he was absent. He didn't just play golf, he democratized golf, turning it from a sport of privilege into a global cultural phenomenon. And then there is the 2019 Masters legacy, the legacy of resurrection. That victory was not just a golf win. It was living proof that falling apart is not the end, that a person can shatter into 100 pieces under the lights of the whole world and still piece themselves back together enough to stand up one more time. Every person on this earth who has ever fallen, in their career, in love, in the battle with themselves, and wondered, can I stand up again, sees the answer in Tiger Woods on the 18th green at Augusta that Sunday afternoon in April 2019, tears streaming down, hugging his son, proving that the answer is yes. But there is also a warning legacy that cannot be ignored. Tiger's story shows that greatness is not immune to fragility. The most perfect machine sports had ever seen still broke, and broke again and again in a cycle that even iron will could not break. Tiger Woods cannot be reduced to a simple story, not the invulnerable icon the world wanted him to be, nor the cautionary tale of wasted talent that the media wanted to turn him into. He is a human who has lived at both extremes of human experience, standing on the Augusta green with victory tears and his son in his arms, then sitting in a police car with dilated pupils and painkillers in his pocket. Both are the real Tiger Woods. No photo is fake, no moment is staged. He was built to win, and he did win more longer, more dominantly than almost anyone in the history of human sports. But no one built him a way to live when he wasn't winning. No one taught him how to exist outside the gallery ropes, where there is no fairway to follow, no scorecard to measure success and failure, no tiger stare to freeze the pain. Earl didn't teach because Earl didn't know. Coltita didn't teach because iron discipline is not the answer to every question. And golf, Tiger's only known refuge, didn't teach either, because golf only lent him control for 4 days on the weekend, then returned him to the real world on Monday. And perhaps that is Tiger Woods' final, most human legacy. A legacy not in trophy cases or record books. He showed the world that even the most perfectly built humans break, that greatness and fragility are not opposites but two sides of the same coin, and that in the fragments of crushed perfection, there is something truer than perfection itself, the imperfect resilience of a human who refuses to disappear. 2 photos 7 years apart. 2019 Masters, tears, green jacket, son in his arms. 2026 mugshot, red eyes, wrinkled shirt, Martin County Jail. At the beginning of this script, those 2 photos were the question. Now they are the answer. Not a neat answer that life rarely gives, but a real answer. Between those 2 photos are 50 years of life, a child in a garage in Cyprus, a Green Beret father with war wounds and love that didn't know how to express itself otherwise. 15 major titles, more than 12 surgeries, a marriage that fell apart in front of the whole planet, 2 children who loved their father with wide eyes and hearts, more forgiving than the world, and a body full of metal and scars that refuses to surrender. The Tiger Woods story is not over. At age 50, he is still writing, with ink whose color no one knows, on pages whose remaining number no one knows. Will the crash-comeback crash cycle repeat or finally be broken? Will the machine run one more time or stop completely? No one knows, not even Tiger. But one thing is certain, when looking back at the entire journey, from the garage in Cyprus to the peak of Augusta to the abyss of Martin County, what makes Tiger Woods is not the 15 major titles, not the 82 wins, not the 683 weeks at number 1, but the fact that he is still here. After all, after every scar on his body and every scar on his honor, he is still here. When looking back at Tiger Woods' journey, what comes to mind first? The cold stare on the fairway, the tears on the Augusta green, or the image of a father hugging his son after the whole world had given up on him? Share below and help us honor the man who proved that greatness is not never falling, but getting up every time you fall, even with legs full of surgical scars and a world that has run out of patience. If this story touched you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories, where we tell about the greatest people not because they are perfect, but because they are real. Thank you for being here until the very end. See you in the next video.